the end of the week or the middle of the week? Wow.
I heard 55 tomorrow.
Yeah, that's good. Peter, you were on the seminar, right, on Saturday?
Yes, I was.
Who else was there? Jerry, were you?
Yep.
Not a bad format.
I thought it was very good.
I thought it was well done. I mean, we could ask questions during the meeting and get some pretty timely answers. And what'd you
Yes.
think of it? What'd you think of it, Pam?
Yeah, I like that. I'd rather that.
Oh, I would too. Why drive to Middletown
Right.
and have some, not to degrade their food service, but it's a lot better to do it at home.
Sure.
I can't believe 2 years have gone by since the last time we
I
were
know.
involved. Jeez.
That's hard to imagine.
Who do we have coming on board, Pam? Do you know?
No, Emily Olson is. She's a reporter for the Register
Registered,
Citizen. Yeah, she's connecting in. Rob Philippella's here.
Okay.
Jim Klatsko and his engineer, Bob Green. And then Karen Murray, I'm not sure. She might just be here. People might not realize about E-Cad being requesting a continuance. So
Okay. All right.
I haven't heard from any of the commissioners that they wouldn't be making it this
All right.
evening. So give it a couple minutes for Art, Will, and John.
Okay. We had any progress on as far as zoning enforcement hire? Pam?
I saw from the Civil Service Commission minutes that they had issues with the job description.
So it's really going nowhere so far, right? So far. All right.
I think he'd be able to do an emergency appointment, you know, but sometimes, you know, people are reluctant to take that because there's no guarantees, but
Yeah, no, that's true.
there's been no progress.
Lovely.
And Mark is going to be out through the end of April. He needs rotator cuff surgery, so he's really falling apart at the seams.
One thing after another, right?
Yeah.
That's too bad.
It is too bad. So it looks like Will Platt just came on, so he's here. So you've got 5.
So
you haven't heard from Art, have you?
Pardon me?
You haven't heard from Art, have you?
No, but I'll call him right now.
I was just gonna mute you, George. So.
Okay, sure, that's fine.
You know Art. He's unpredictable.
Yeah, right. Hey, Will.
How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good.
I just tried Art and I just got his voicemail. So has John come on board?
No, not yet.
Okay. Well, why don't we get the meeting underway? We're 4 minutes after 7 or thereabouts. So we'll call the meeting to order for March 8th. Unbelievable. 2021. You've got a roll call, Pam?
Yep.
Okay. So we'll seat Will, if we can, for Art's seat.
And just for the record, you have Craig Sandin, Peter Marchand, Jerry Martinez, Will Platt, and then obviously yourself. And you said you're going to see Art for who? I'm sorry.
I'm going to seat Will for
Will
Art.
for Art. Right. Okay. Thank you.
I just looked at my list, and the last person I seated for a vacancy was John.
Okay.
Do we have any public comment relative to anything other than what we've had on our agenda?
I'm not sure. Everyone has the ability to unmute themselves. If there's anyone here that wanted to provide public comment.
Okay, hearing none. Commissioners, agenda review. Any suggestions or changes for the agenda?
Yeah, George, the only thing I had was just add outdoor dining to our agenda tonight to talk about.
Okay, under that should be really under old business, Peter.
Well, whatever.
Okay, we have a motion to do that.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second
that'll be under 5 Delta. Do we have a second?
I'll second that, George.
Craig will second it. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor? Just
Aye.
raise your hand. Okay. I don't think, do we have any objections to that? No. Okay. All right. Thanks, Peter. Public hearing.
George, 1 minute.
Yeah.
Did you put my item on there?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. Jerry had asked us to add a discussion with regards to that I sent to everybody with regards to actually the current discussions that's out there, federal and state. So can we add that under new business?
Yeah, that'd be good.
What are we characterizing this? It's a resolution that you want to adopt relative to
resolution with regards to local control.
Vis-a-vis legislation that's passing through the potential legislation that's going through the Capitol right now.
Yeah, good point. Okay, do we have a second on that motion?
I'll second it.
I'll second it.
Okay, all right, we've got
George, if-
2 seconds.
just a moment. Here comes John Cooney.
Okay,
For the record, 7:06.
all right.
And did you take a vote on that?
No, we just
Okay.
got a second on it. Any comments or discussion on the motion to add the resolution with regards to what Jerry had submitted to the commission later this afternoon? All right, all in favor? That's adding it to the agenda tonight. It'll be under 6, new business. Okay. Number 4, public hearing, PZC number 20-30, special permit location 149 Newfield Road. Applicant owner, East Coast Assistance Dogs, E-Cad. Proposal special permit for phase 3 of training, kennel, and modify approved site plan. Pam, we've received a letter that we should put that into the record with regards to Jason Dismukes, the engineer of record for Dale and the E-Cad application. He's requesting that, and this came in Friday, March 5th, 12/11. They want to continue their participation in the public hearing for the next regular meeting on March 22nd. So I'd like to make a motion that we continue the public hearing for PZC number 20-30, a special permit 149 Newfield Road till the 22nd of March. We have a second?
I'll
Craig?
second.
Okay. Any discussion with regards to the motion? All in favor, just raise your hand. Thank you. Okay, number 5, Bravo, PZC number 21-01, special permit, location 100 New Hartford Road, applicant owner James Klaschko. Proposal special permit for landscaping construction yard / mini mix concrete. Is the applicant?
Excuse me. Yes, I'm here. I'm here, and
Okay. Thank
my
you.
engineer is on as well, and he could probably fill you in with what's been happening since the last meeting.
Okay. We never opened a public hearing on it, so you want to bring us up to date on
No,
where
you don't really want to take too much testimony because you're going to need a public hearing on this.
Yeah, we are.
So, the way you left it, there's been an application submitted. They're going to update their site plan. There hasn't been any, I imagine it's because of the weather, but unless you're just updating on timing, if you want to provide the commission.
Well, that's a good point, Pam. Jim, can you just update us on where you are with regards to completing the process for us, so we could schedule a public?
Yeah, the big holdup is the snow cover to delineate the wetlands.
Okay.
But my engineer, Bob Green, who I believe is on this meeting as well, he was out with his crew and they did substantial amount of surveying as far as topos and all of that stuff. That I believe he's got everything done that he can do up until we get the wetlands delineated. But he could fill you in better on that.
Well, do you have? We're supposed to have 60-degree weather at the end of the week, so I imagine most of this impediment to progress here in the winter in Connecticut will be over.
That's what we're hoping for.
Are you?
That's what we're hoping for.
Are they prepared to move forward quickly with this so that we can get it somewhere on an agenda?
Yes, we've been in touch with our soil scientist to be certain that.
Pardon me, but would you just identify yourself for the record?
I'm Bob Green from Robert Green Associates.
Okay.
We're the surveyors and engineers of record for this project, and things are going slowly. We did some survey work where we could get most of the mapping from curbside inward, but to get anything beyond that is difficult to impossible. We're glad we're getting some snow melt this week. And as soon as we can see ground between Route 44 and the building, our soil scientist will be out there to flag the wetlands, and things will get going. We'll be able to work with the Wetlands Commission to wrap that portion up so that you can have your public hearing.
Okay. So why don't we?
And I don't know if there's a time.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
That's right. I don't know if there's a timeline for requesting an extension of the application.
Yeah, why don't we? Yes, because we're required by statute, as you know.
Yeah.
Once you submit it, the time starts to go. So why don't you give us a written extension request, and then with this COVID as well, we've got a little more flexibility, but at least we keep ourselves in process here, so we can move you along as soon as you can get the rest of the information for us.
Sure. What's the extension time we can request?
Well, you can request 65 days.
Well, I think we're going to need it because by the time we do the mapping, which will be probably end of month, we'll get into wetlands early April.
All right.
So it could be 30, it could be 45 days before we really get to this commission. So I'm going to ask Jim to send a letter into Planning and Zoning tomorrow requesting an extension of your application for 65 days.
That'll be fine. And then there's added, capability to extend because of this COVID business. We just had a seminar over the weekend.
Well, I think we're pretty good shape.
So that'll be good. We don't want to delay it. So we'll be looking forward to seeing your continuing input.
He has a truck parked in the building. And
You don't want to take too much testimony here.
I'm only asking if he can take the vehicle out of the building, bring it back at night. It's empty, it's clean, it has nothing, it just needs to be undercover, that's all.
Well, we can't act on the application, so I guess take it upon your own, whatever you feel. We can't authorize you to do something that we really can't do, because this apparently, Jim came in well in advance of the season change here. And so we're just trying to cooperate as much as we can, but
That's fine.
okay.
Thank
All
you.
right, so let's just keep the thing moving along. If you can get that letter requesting an extension, so it's in the file. And
And
then,
email is fine
Pam,
for that.
Yes.
okay, yes, Tim. Okay,
I'll get it in tomorrow. Thank you very much.
thank you. Okay, appreciate it. Let's keep it moving and let's get you in business. Okay.
And let's hope for that 60-degree weather. We could use it.
Planned. We're all looking forward to it.
Yep. Absolutely. Okay, thanks.
Okay,
Have a great
thank
night.
you.
Thank you.
All right, number 5, Charlie, PZC number 21-04, excavation renewal, location 192 Torrington Road, application owner. I'm going to say Pierre because that's how he
Yeah,
recommends we.
Pierre's application.
Proposal excavation renewal. This is renewal. It's a 2-year requirement, and we all have the paperwork in front of us. Is Pierre on board tonight? Yeah.
He's not. I'm not sure if this Karen Murray is here. Let me no. I'm guessing that no.
All right. Well,
Hold
this
on.
is pretty straightforward, though. I mean, obviously, and I go by the site pretty much every other day. There hasn't been a lot of activity on it, except for Mountaintop. They seem to be continuing to do a lot of work down in their Torrington location. I'm not sure what they're doing here in Winston, but the application is to renew for a 2-year period the PZC number 21-04, 192 Torrington Road. And frankly, I don't have any questions on it. We've got an updated map, which is part of the record, Pam. Doesn't seem to be a lot of activity in commercial activity for the whole state of Connecticut. Do we have any comments from the commission?
The only thing I recall, George, in the past, we've requested whatever he had on the property for implements. At one time there was a tank truck and stuff.
Right.
I didn't see any of that on the plan. As you well know, I'm not driving, so I have not been by there for over a year. So I have no idea what's there. That was the only thing I saw that I know in the past he gave us an inventory of what was present. On that. So
Good point. I don't, there's nothing on the new plan, which was just updated in
I saw that.
January 14th, 2021. So let's reference that as it's a topographic survey for the applicant, and it's prepared by Robert Green Associates, surveyors and engineers, Terryville, Connecticut, and it's signed and stamped. But again, it's not including any equipment that Craig brought up.
I just make that comment. That's all.
Yeah, no, it's an appropriate one. And there seems to be
I
no
see no
activity
reason
down
to
there.
forestall it. I just
Yeah, I frankly, hasn't been much activity at all down there from what my observations are. I'd make a motion to grant the extension of his excavation permit for the appropriate 2-year extension.
I'll second that.
All right, we've got a motion and a second. Do we have any comments with regards to that? I'd say the only thing is that we would ask the applicant to update this current map to just show any equipment that he's got stored on the site, because he had a tanker or a tank on there, and he might have had some crushing equipment. So that just could be added as a supplement for the permanent record. That all right, Craig?
Yep, that's fine.
All right.
I just know in the past he had some, there was an inventory. I just recall that.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Good observation. Any other comments or contributions to the motion? All in favor? Just raise your hand. Any opposition? I don't see any. Okay. Looks like it's all in favor. That's so for Pam for your record. Pierre's been pretty responsive and just adding whatever he needed to for bringing it up to date. Okay. Under new business. Well, the other, Peter, you had you wanted to add outside dining consideration.
Yes, I just wanted to bring up to see if we can extend the outdoor dining permits that we had issued to restaurants for last summer. It was last spring when the COVID hit. We had talked about it and we were able to do it with state permission. And I didn't know if it was still allowed, if we could extend it through the summer period.
That's a good point, Peter. Another issue as part of that is, I should get a hold of the people had a response from the governor's office in their legal division. I've got his email address, so let me query him and find out if we can.
Yeah, I just thought.
We're certainly ahead of the game because we're not into the season yet, but it's coming up shortly.
Right.
So with everybody's approval or no disagreement, I'll contact the governor's legal office and get something in writing so our next meeting in 2 weeks, we can make an action on this if it's appropriate. Is that okay?
Just to get the ball rolling before the season starts.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Good heads up suggestion.
Well, there's one point too, George, is that
Yes.
I understand that the governor in his infinite wisdom is allowing restaurants to go back to 100% or near 100%. So many of the restrictions that were, promulgated for outside dining will be somewhat removed.
Well, it's as of the 19th of March. It's a good point, but they also are maintaining the spacing requirements, which may preclude. I mean, I think of the little Padres down in Gilson. They don't have a lot of inside space and they don't have any outside space really.
Yeah. Okay.
But someplace like some of the other restaurants in town that have the capability. Let me contact the governor's legal office that reacted to the last year's request from us and get clarification so that if that's authorized, let's be ahead of the game and make that happen. Is that
absolutely
okay, Commission?
That's great.
Okay, I will do that tomorrow. Okay. Also under new business, Jerry had sent in a resolution, and I'll turn it over to you, Jerry, to discuss it.
Thanks, George. There's been a lot of activity at the Capitol with a number of different bills flying back and forth, and all of them seem to be taking away local rights and local impact. And this one, the resolution I sent out to George earlier today, basically addresses the fact that a lot of things are happening. They're trying to move the decision making from the local zoning commissions up to possibly a bureaucratic or even the Capitol, as far as the legislature, as far as running land use issues, deciding what happens. There's a lot of talk about multifamily development, eliminating zoning, public hearings, different transit issues. And so we've been talking about this as part of our POCD and what it really means for land use here. And so I just wanted to bring it to the attention of the members of this commission that this is an actively moving piece of legislation that's going out, and a number of towns and cities are quite understandably a little bit upset about this. And as more regionalization comes in, more of our control as to what we can do seems to be disappearing on a daily basis. So I'd like to make a motion to at least review this document, this resolution, and sign off and present it to the legislature and the governor.
I'll second that.
Well, let's open it up for discussion. And that means everybody, whether you're alternate or seated tonight. And just along those same lines, it was good in the seminar on Saturday. We talked about, or it was discussed, and I think clearly stated the role of a alternate. And this is what I've always felt. I was on the commission for about 12 years before I got on the Board of Selectmen. And the way I felt when I chaired previously was the alternates should have the opportunity, as everybody else in the community, to be able to discuss issues as we had them presented to the commission. And I still feel that way, and they reinforced that. The cutoff point was where we get into a public hearing and that kind of an issue. Once the public hearings are closed and that kind of an application, that's the end of the discussion with regards to the people that are not seated. But until then, as everybody else in the community has an opportunity to contribute toward the discussion, everybody on the commission, alternates and seated, also have that. And I think that's a very important part of the success of the commission in total. And in this, I agree with Jerry. This whole thing, that there's an operation going on from UConn that's called Desegregate Connecticut, and I'm speaking obviously not for the commission, but personally, when somebody puts something out like that, it immediately, annoys me, because the perception is the whole state is segregated. And I think that we have here in our community have done a thorough job of making our zones appropriate to the community, to the capability of our infrastructure, and the flexibility within our community to have all kinds of housing opportunities. And actually, we exceed the 10% cutoff point where they say that you're not meeting their criteria. We exceed that. Torrington exceeds that. I just saw an article with a chart from, I think it was the New Haven Register, I believe. But so this issue that Jerry brought up it's basically one size fits all. And I think that is definitely an insult to everybody in our country, as well as our 169 towns. If we lose the ability to look at our neighborhood and so forth and see, I'm talking about neighborhood by the town-wide neighborhood or neighborhoods, we lose the capability of having local input on how we want to see our community developed. And what this is leading to, frankly, and I don't think the legal profession will be in favor of it, but eliminate zoning altogether, and then it's a free-for-all. And I don't think the legal community would be in favor of that, because there's an awful lot of money that's being made in the legal community for challenges to property rights, et cetera. So we have a huge responsibility as commissioners to balance the personal and private property rights versus the bigger view of the community welfare in having a planned layout for zoning and so forth. So I wholeheartedly agree with this, getting this information out to our legislators. How much it's going to have an effect, I don't know. But from a political standpoint, I don't think there's anybody that we elected locally that's smarter than anybody individually in this community. So it's good to have this kind of an input to at least express our concerns to keep our local control. It's very, very important for our entire country. Enough said. Anybody else would like to discuss that?
Maybe Jerry, are you making a motion to adopt this resolution this evening? So, and if you are, the resolution should be read into the record.
Well, I think that's part of the discussion here, Pam.
Okay.
I don't know if everybody's had a chance to read it and to digest what's going on and really try to get up to speed. I mean, one of my concerns here, and George hit on a number of the main issues, but I think this commission takes extra care in the way we decide on our approvals and our disapprovals, and we look at the zoning requirements for each application very seriously. And it's important because we're closest to the action, if you will. And one of the concerns that I have is that this could impact historical preservation, environmental issues due to greater density coverage, overburden infrastructure, especially here up in the rural areas of Winchester. And not to mention potential spending and tax increases that go in with all this. So, I think if a number of the different zoning commissions around the state, if we can get a majority of them, I think that could be very positive. And George's right, we can't lose our home control over what goes on in our own town. So I'll leave it up to the commission if they want to decide tonight, or if they want to have a chance to read and then leave it for the next meeting and then have a vote. But things are moving quickly up at the Capitol, so I don't want to wait too long.
Yeah, I agree with you, Jerry.
Yeah, my
Peter?
opinion, if we're going to pass this and forward it to the state, that we should do it now and not wait.
I could.
I would agree with that.
Will?
I'll agree.
Okay. Okay, any other discussion on Jerry's motion? And it was seconded.
I'll second it.
Okay. All right.
You're gonna read it into the record, right?
Yes, or Jerry, you want to read it in? You
Sure,
presented it?
Yeah, sure, not a problem. Let me just blow it up so I can see it.
Okay.
I'm getting to that age now.
I hold it at my house. You can see it, Jerry.
A resolution in support of home rule in municipal zoning decision-making. Whereas Connecticut's towns and cities successfully use local zoning and planning processes to balance private property rights, the community's interests, demands on infrastructure, housing needs, and economic growth. And whereas local control and decision-making empowers the residents and taxpayers of each town and city to carefully tailor zoning policies that reflect its unique geography, economy, housing market, and whereas localized decision-making ensures the greatest level of accountability while allowing effective community members to the greatest level of input, and the platform through a public hearing to provide specific, relevant information on potential impacts that only they would have knowledge of. And whereas local control and local input enable neighbors, the local community to provide beneficial suggestions, identify errors, and maximize community buy-in on zoning proposals. And whereas proposals have been introduced in the General Assembly to strip local planning and zoning processes from towns and cities. And whereas proposals have been introduced in the General Assembly to allow by right market value multifamily development will not generate any new affordable housing units. And whereas proposals have been introduced in the General Assembly to allow outside housing authorities within 15 miles radius to develop affordable housing projects within our city, the town of Winchester. And whereas by right, multifamily development can lead to exponential market value overbuilding and can cause adverse impacts to town infrastructure. And whereas by right, development gives outsized rights to builders overall that other property owners and prevents local planning and zoning commissions from identifying the potential impacts of their project and imposing conditions upon a developer to address those direct impacts. And whereas eliminating public hearings and community input on zoning matters would have unintended consequences such as increased infrastructure costs, increased local property taxes, reduced home and business values, which will be borne by the town residents. And whereas each town and city already have the choice to modify or abolish its zoning ordinances if the elected town or city government decides it best serves the community interest. And now be resolved that the town of Winchester.
I think you want to say the Planning and Zoning Commission
Okay.
of the town of Winchester.
Okay, now it be resolved that the zoning commission of the town of Winchester opposes and state mandated one-size-fits-all zoning legislation and the ability of any outside housing authority to have jurisdiction on our town's affordable housing plan, any similar legislation that would further overrule, remove, or diminish local control and decision-making related to planning and zoning or affordable housing from the town of Winchester. And be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution shall be sent to all state representatives and state senators representing this town, to all members of the state legislature's planning, development, finance, and housing committees, and to all legislatures sponsoring bills that remove local control of planning and zoning and affordable housing.
Okay, that's the motion. And who made the second?
I did.
Okay, so that you concur with that as read?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Any further discussion from the commission? All in favor of the motion, please raise your hand. Looks unanimous. Thanks for bringing that up, Jerry. That's critical information right now, not only on the state level, but for the federal level as well.
Well, George, I want to thank everybody for their consideration and their support. And like you, I think this is a critical change that we must take on right away.
And to reinforce what you're saying, things seem to be moving at a much faster speed in government than we usually see these things happening. So it's important, it's critical for us to be paying attention. Okay. Next issue is approval of minutes of the February 8th, 2021 meeting minutes. I think everybody was there.
I make a motion to approve, George.
Okay, we got a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Craig, second. Any discussion, additions, corrections? All in favor? Raise your hand. Thank you. Okay, communication, Pam?
I don't have any.
Staff report.
I guess at some point, we ought to look at the zoning regulations and consider addressing parking as a use.
As a freestanding situation. Yeah, I agree.
As a
We talked
principal
about
use.
that some months ago, and we never
Yeah,
took
you
that
know,
up.
I have several properties up at the lake where the homes are on the lake side and folks are looking to carve out parking on the opposite side, you know, to an otherwise undeveloped piece. And, you know, besides meeting impervious surface restrictions, whatever, I think they're 15%, 20% with LID.
Yeah.
It's not a use, it's not a permitted use.
Yeah.
And then there's also several areas in the downtown area where it's somewhat causing a nuisance for neighbors, where empty lots are being used for parking, and you know the commercial vehicles are being started, you know, at all hours, and you know, so it is something that we ought to put on a upcoming agenda as soon as possible to talk
Can
about.
we look to the COG just to make the inquiry with regards to any of the communities that have addressed this? It's probably
Sure.
more, you know, Torrington probably would have addressed something like that. Probably more of a you know, a city like our city. But if we had something like that where we could take a look at it, so we don't just reinvent the wheel, is that something you could pursue a little bit with the inquiries from your contacts? I think it's important that we do that. The town has been, they took that automotive facility down on Meadow Street down and provide parking there. There's a building that was removed on Main Street that's now, just vacant. And I don't know what the intention totally of
I
what
think
that is.
parking, yeah, I think you're right, and parking was planned for there too, I
Yeah,
think,
but then you need a curb cut with the state, I'm sure, for something like that.
right.
But could you follow up with that and bring it
Yes.
to us?
Yep, and put it on the March 22nd
you
agenda
do that?
for a discussion item, yep.
Yeah, appreciate it. The West End, the convenience store down there, it seems like work has stopped. Is there a reason why it stopped, or just it's
No. No, not anything that,
okay?
I've heard, I brought it through zoning.
Rob
So,
Colabella.
What's going on, Rob?
hi, hello, everybody. I asked him too, because I was a little worried. I'm like, yeah, they got three, got the place shored up on the inside, two of the walls, and all of a sudden it stopped. So I saw the owner in the store, in a different store one day, and I asked, hey, what's going on? He said that they're waiting for CLMP. CLMP is holding them up right now with temporary power and stuff to the building.
Oh, okay.
So they've been waiting and waiting and waiting and pushing, but they don't seem to be getting anywhere, he said. And I said, well, that's something I couldn't help him with, so.
No, but that's better than something else as a cause of it, if it's-
Yeah, well, that, at least, at least that's what he gave me for an answer when I asked him.
All right, well, that's the best
You know.
I was curious because it seemed like they took the dumpsters away and
Yeah, I said the same thing.
materials there.
Well, I'm glad they took the dumpsters away because they were overflowing.
Yeah, well, sure.
there is a liaison, Eversource liaison, that we might be able to put him in touch with, that might be able to assist him in that
Well,
respect.
just so we had not a blighted scenario there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be awful if that thing just stopped right there.
Yeah, right, for
You
sure.
know? So,
Well, good. Thanks, Rob.
yeah.
Anything else, Pam, that you might have?
No, no, you'll see that application when it comes in.
Okay. All right. Let's go to 10A, pre-development discussion regarding 170 West Lake Street with the Marina at Highland Lake.
Hi, for the record, this is Robert Colabella. I'm a senior project engineer with Leonard Engineering, and I'm representing Eric Richard up at the Marina at Highland Lake. Now, currently he has the Marina facility. We know he's come through and done the work and has that up and running. But part of what he's always wanted to do up there is also provide storage for boats in the winter. And he's been looking to expand for a while. So to that end, Eric has been in discussions with purchasing the Union Pin Company and the two properties that are just north of there along Lake Street, and developing that property for two things: to store the boats in the wintertime. He also wants to do detailing and some maintenance in the garage there, and he wants to have a little retail space, and those are the two things that he wants to do there. So what we had done was, we brought Eric in, he sat him down, and we took a look at what his wants were and what his needs were. And when we started looking at the property across the street and started reading the regulations, we came across a couple of questions that we need clarification on from the commission. Is there a question? I'm
No,
sorry.
go ahead.
So to that end, if I could share my screen, Pam?
Yep, you have the ability.
Okay.
Hover around the bottom and.
Is that good? Can we see
Yep.
this page?
Mhm.
All right, so he is in the HLB district, and for B is lowercase a, B, C, and in B, maximum impervious surface is equal 75%. So this section right here at the back end of it says all additional regulations of the HL district shall apply in the HLB district. See HL district section D. So we went there. And here's lowercase a, lowercase b, lowercase c, and it says CD on next page for additional regulations of the HL district. This isn't the error I'm talking about, but there's a little tiny error. That should have a little D in front of it, so we kind of know that that's what they're telling us to go look at. If you go down to impervious surfaces, however, in the HL district, we all know what it is. It's 15%, 20% if, sorry, there's a loud vehicle going by. So if you implement LID measures. So there's an inherent contradiction where in one case, the HLB district is saying the maximum impervious surface is 75%, but they're telling us we need to look at the additional regulations of the HL district and they apply. But when we go there, maximum impervious is only 15%, 20% if you can get a little higher. Now, so I went to the zoning map. Oh, when I change this, does the zoning map come up on your screen? Or do I have to
Yes.
shut one down? Can you see the zoning map?
Yes.
Okay, so obviously at this end, this is the old Bruno's Market, which is now, I think La Pointe's is still in there.
Yes,
This must be the nursing home
yes.
over in this section.
Yep.
And then as we come up here, this must be Stu's place. Here's
Yep.
the marina. And then the properties that we're talking about are this one, and this third one along here. So to that end, we asked our client what he needed and wanted, and he came up with, we gave him an overview of the property and asked him to put a little wish list on there when he came up with this. This was his first concept, which was concept A. It's very similar to what was done with Rory Operating and Ernie Wolf when he wanted to do the Holiday Inn, just a little bit more toned down. We were in that version, there was redirection of the outfall to Highland Lake, which currently cuts across the property here. This is when Union Penn used to, operate the water outfall to run their machinery. So they would shut this gate, water would go this way, it would run a wheel over here. When they didn't need that machine, they would shut the gate over here, open this gate, run it this way, and there's some machines were running here. Town has easements over these two portions of the property, and we can get rid of three easements and turn them into one. To that end, we had a short discussion with Pam and actually Jim Rollins to talk to him about whether this would be feasible for him. And he said, yeah, but obviously this was kind of a situation. So we spoke with our client, but we had spoke with our client before we talked to Jim, and we had thought this was a little tight. So we came up with concept C, and this pushed it a little further away. And enough for us to get 25 feet worth of easement on both sides. This way Jimmy has a 50-foot swatch to work in here if he has to go in there. But he was satisfied with that, it seemed. So this is more on the lines of what they're thinking of. This area right here is all obviously cleared and encapsulated from when they did the remediation work. And so is this area down here. They both have curb cuts in them. We talked to Jimmy about those too. He was fine with that. So the two questions we really have are use, which is the first thing. Over here, obviously everything in the HLB district is by special permit only. There are no permitted uses in the HLB district, sorry. Ooh, wrong one. HLB district. There are no permitted uses. So in here, he wants to call this a mixed use building because he wants to do two things. He wants to expand the marina, including boat sales and or storage, repair, and fueling, which kind of includes everything he's trying to do over there, which is the storage part, the repair, the fueling's across the street, obviously. But the other part of the mixed use was a retail small shop, because obviously he wants to sell other things out of there other than just boats. Maybe water skis or, obviously water stuff. So we wanted to ensure that, well, mixed use tells us in the regulations that you have to have either, all of the uses have to either be permitted in the district or allowed by special permit. So what we're saying is he wants to go in as mixed use because he actually is combining a retail small shop with the marina, including boat sales and or storage and repair. So what he's doing is expanding the marina to that side of the street because the zoning is appropriate for what he's trying to do. Additionally, he had owned up until very recently, he had owned the place with a partner, and since then, the partner has decided that, you know, they no longer want to be involved with it, and him and his wife have bought that portion out, so they are going to be the owners of everything at the marina and across the street. So we're curious if, how are we going to look at this impervious surface before, we wanted to get it straight before we put together this entire plan and covered, you know, this plan that we show now only is a 29%, because I actually put up a zoning table in this one. So the current plan actually has it's only at 27.9%. If we went with this plan C that we're looking at here, you know, the property goes all the way down to here. So all this is untouched down here. And then this is the area of development, and paved area is just up here in the front. So we're only at 27.9%, which does put us over the 20%, because I'm sure we could implement LID measures to at least get us up to 20% if we had to meet the other portion of the zoning regulations. Now, I understand that the HLB district was inserted into the zoning regulations after they were adopted. This recent version was adopted. And I don't know whether I think Steve might have implemented this HLB district. And when he did that, he created that HLB impervious of 75%. I'm thinking because he looked at the other lots that he put in the HLB district, and they do cover a majority of the property. Bruno's is almost all paved, and the building, the nursing home definitely covers more than 20%. Stu has pretty big parking lot in the ice building, but he does have quite a bit of grass around the house, so he could be pretty low. But the marina itself, where they are now, is pretty much well covered. So we're guessing that his actual intent, even though I understand his intent of wanting to add the additional regulations of the HL district, but I think his initial intent was the actual max impervious surface of 75%. So we're hoping to get some clarification before we came in one way and found out it was something else, and go back to the drawing board and redo everything. And then we wanted to try to also clarify that we would be okay to be using the mixed use building for this as an appendage to the marina that's across the street. The only problem that we have with marina is that we do not have a definition for it in our regulations. So that, even though it's allowed as a use, but we never define it. We do define retail small shop, and we do define mixed use building, but nowhere in our regulations do we actually define marina, including boat sales and or storage, repair, and fueling. So right now he's doing marina. I don't know if he's selling boats, and he's definitely doing he really isn't doing storage, so he's just doing fueling in the marina right now. So he wants to. Highland Lake is the 6th largest lake in Connecticut. It's and it has one place, and Chris is great, and he has a nice little place down there. They have one place to store boats there, but you know, I don't know how many actual residents there are around the lake that have boats. And let's face it, we live in a boating town, so if you don't even have to live around the lake to have a boat, you know. So people are looking for places to store these boats, and I noticed steel buildings are going up in areas, and they're getting stored in all different places. But to have a place right at the shore would actually be really good for a lot of the residents who live at the lake, use the lake. So that's the two things we need clarification on, because what we're doing right now is we're just preparing concept plans for him. We're not anywhere near ready to submit to the commission. We're just, you know, ironing this out so he can decide whether it's a big nut to crack if he's going to try to buy this and do that. He already purchased the property across the street. Every house between East Lake Street and Rockwell. So he owns all of these properties in between here and here. The problem with expanding there is that would require a zone change. So this provides us the opportunity to actually be within the zone that we should be in without having to get a zone change, without having to, disrupt the harmony of that residential area over there across the street, and just kind of go back to putting something there. I mean, I do remember the old Union Pin. A lot of the buildings have come down. There's just one building left right now, but the place could use a facelift. So just curious as to how we were going to
Well,
approach those two parts of the zoning regulation.
I think, Rob, you've presented it pretty clearly, and I don't think any of us have noticed the discrepancy between the impervious surface. It was pretty obvious that 75% was out there, and we were clearly looking at that. But the conflict between the 15/20, depending on the low impact development, plus you're getting out of it, that was missed. My feeling on the list of uses under special permit, I think that they all apply, in my opinion, but we're going to lead, each of the commissioners should comment on that. The big thing is the relocation of that water flow out of the lake. That's got to have to be carefully considered.
Yeah, it's interesting you said that, because one of the reasons I show it the way I show it and where I show it is because we did all the H&H work a while back, all the hydraulics and hydrology for that. And we had this culvert actually is designed. It was designed during the time that we had gone through and worked with Rory Operating and Ernie Wilk for the Holiday Inn. The one caveat that Jimmy asked for in this, and I'm still sharing my screen if I'm not, is right here where we have the junction chamber. Jimmy would like this area between the junction chamber and the actual outfall to be open, so no top on it, so that his men could get in there and go up if they have to, and so we won't have to drop a manhole cover out here and have the guys try to squeeze down there and climb down a ladder. They'll just have open access to it and into the junction chamber and go where the water. This is actually where the spillway runs. There's a wall here. And the spillway kind of runs this way. This spillway runs that way. You could see the other spillway comes through here. They join together here, and this is the main channel, and this is a deep, deep, deep ravine.
So that area on the upper area is where it went into the turbines and so forth for the operation of Union Pin?
Correct. That's exactly what that was used for. So as you come out, it's open here, and you could, I'll zoom in a little bit better. And then it's closed all the way up to here. It's concrete over the top of it. Then it's open again through here. At this point, it gets closed again, and then over here it opens up again, and then there's a little footbridge here that opens up again, and then it comes down here. That's only when this is closed, but this can never be closed any longer because there is no more gate there. So it just kind of, now it goes through here. It's open from here to here. That's closed again over here, opens up again over here. It takes an immediate left-hand turn and comes down here. And right here is it's a deep ravine. It's wide open. It's mostly stone down here, and then it dumps into the main.
But it was all associated with the manufacturing operation and the turbines and so forth for the plant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. The wheel, this one here spun a wheel that operated certain machines, and then on days when they were switching shifts or whatever, they were switching machines, they would drop, close the gate, the water would then flow this way, hit the wheel that was, I think, right in this area to operate there used to be buildings down here. There's an old retaining wall right here. There used to be the buildings down here, and they used to run a wheel here that ran some other machinery down in another part of the factory. So yeah, those two things, we basically have our outfall for Highland Lake. We've had the spillway, it's been there forever. The dam is pretty solid. And this has always been to, let down, in the winter for our deep drawdown and our every 5 years and our regular drawdowns every year. And, that's when we open the gate up is when that gets used. Other than that, it doesn't get used. I mean,
So the redirection has the capacity to deal with anything and everything that you're dealing with in regards to the normal drawdown and the 5-year.
yeah, absolutely. That's what was David and the guys had considered back when we were all working on the Holiday Inn. That was actually about the time, I had left here to go start my business, so I didn't get to see the back end of it. It just started, it just came in, and I remember them designing the culvert. And then when I was re-looking at what Eric wanted to do, I went back and looked and realized that they had completely designed the culvert and they had already done the hydrology on it. So back then it would work, and I don't see why we're not changing. Our gate hasn't changed. It has the same CFS it had at a low drawdown as it does at a deep drawdown, or 1/4 open or halfway open or 3/4 open, however you want to look at it. I'm sure that it was designed for being fully open.
I'm curious, what was the lowest floor elevation of the Holiday Inn? Do you have that compared to what this is proposed?
No, but I think it was just about a foot higher, and I can't quote you, but I mean, I can
Well, that's in our records.
it could take me about 3 or 4 minutes to kind of find it through our
Well,
directory
this is
system.
just pre-development, so
It
Yeah,
is.
pre-development.
wanna,
I'm just curious
yeah,
for my own.
Right.
Yeah, it was about 875 is what I'm trying to I'm recalling, but if it's anything different than that, I'd let you know next time I talk to you. But I think it's in this. It was about 875. So his first option, concept A, kind of difficult because we didn't angle the building, So what would have ended up happening with concept A, not only would we have had this problem with being too close to the culvert, we would have had to have a step foundation that started here and made its way all the way around to this end with a very deep wall. If you could look at these little plus and minus signs, those are existing elevations at those corners, at that corner, at that corner, at that. So you have an 860 here and the building's at 874. So by rotating the building into concept C, we were able to do a little bit better. We didn't have to build a wall at all. Not only that, we were able to get enough of a shelf back here, whereas if firemen had to get back here and put up a ladder or have access.
So I'm
egress and get around the
George,
building.
I'm worried that we're getting into too fine of the details of this plan.
I think that the questions that you're bringing up, Rob, as far as us to try to give you some guidance without giving you approval or denial.
Right, we're not looking for approval. We're just looking for which way we got to address, fill the application out when we're getting ready to submit.
Yeah, no, I understand. All right. Just a question. Craig, you've been on this a while. Do you have any comments with regards to the two basic issues here, which is the impervious coverage and the multiple mixed use operations within our regulations? Do you have any comments on that?
Well, I thought when we put in that special area,
Mm-hmm.
at that area at the, where Bruno's old place was and this one, because they were done as addendums to the finished product.
Yeah.
And I thought we were trying to accommodate the ability to develop these as industrial or commercial sites. So I don't have, I'm not getting upset about the impervious situation at this point. We have to be careful because of other circumstances if we talk in this way.
So it's whether or not the Highland Lake Business District was intended to be a straight 75%. Is that, and obviously because we have this question now, we'll want to clear it up. But if the consensus of the commission is, no, the Highland Lake Business District is 75%, then we can always clear it up, you know,
Right.
probably faster than they would come in. You know, if we're gonna talk about parking lots and, you know, we could clear it up in 45 days, you know, but just if we have direction now that's, you know, because it's
Yeah,
a pretty
I
big
think
deal.
because we did talk at length about the Highland Lake Business District and the conflict. I don't remember seeing that. So this is that's an important you know, point out.
And then cleaning mixed use building, our definitions, you know, not quite what would lend to how he's describing as a mixed use. You know, because our mixed use definition
Was for some residential.
is for residential.
Yeah. I
So
think the consistency of what's being proposed for this specific location, but it might be that we should clear up the language, Pam, on.
in our regs too, you know, you know, and if you're inclined to want to move in that direction, then Rob can take away that, yeah, we'll be likely changing our regs to allow 75% to have two commercial businesses operate under whatever we're going to call it, a mixed use. And then to his point, like Marina isn't defined.
I don't, you know, frankly, if it's all commercial use, I don't really even consider that mixed use. I think mixed use would be a residential and a commercial, and that in my mind, from my experience.
So, and that's something that I can look at, like, you know, what is the term? What, you know, do we need a term to allow more than one commercial use?
No, I don't think so. I think that gives you flexibility within these. I mean, this specific is a very limited zone, but
I think the whole purpose, George, was to get flexibility.
yeah, and I have a little more heartburn with, you know, something like we've got downtown in the central business district, the town center, where we've got mixed use, which is a legitimate, in my mind, residential commercial. So we should really tweak that a little bit, in my mind, but this is something the commission should discuss. Peter, what's your input on?
Based on the site that's being discussed, I mean, I think when we did the Highland Lake Business District, that was to promote business in that area.
Mm-hmm.
We had a lot of discussion on that, and to have it as commercial. I don't remember the discussion of the 75% impervious surface, but that one site fortunately drains away from the lake. So
Mm-hmm.
I think the mixed use is definitely something that should be there.
Okay. Will?
As far as the 75% goes, if that's what's in the regulations, I think that's what's going to have to go. The question I have is, are you counting in the 36% that he's got the parking lots that are still paved,
Mm-hmm.
that are further down the street? Are they going to be removed, or are they going to be part of the project?
Mm-hmm.
They would have to be counted.
Well, they're already part of the project if we looked at that screen again.
Mm-hmm.
And if it helps, you know, I can, you
They
know,
almost covered both of those areas. The
you're,
project almost covered, the building itself almost covers those two areas.
yeah, so you would count everything. But as far as whether or not the commission intended to have 75% as the cap for that district, I can look back, if you want me to see what the discussion was, you know, back in 16, 17, whenever,
Mm-hmm.
you know, you were establishing this zone.
Yeah.
It seems to me that you definitely had planned to allow more than one use, you know, from these,
No, there's
you
a
know,
question because we
but
had.
what we call it is minor, you know, whatever we call it is a minor hurdle. It's that 75%. What was the, because it's conflicting right now, like he
No, it
points
is.
out, and that's,
Definitely is, yeah.
so we want to clear it up, because this might be the first time it's coming up, but it won't be the last.
No, true. No, I agree with you.
And,
Okay.
I think the commission had a different take when the marina came in, just a short time ago with impervious surface. Like, I don't think we were looking at it at 75%.
No, I know we weren't. True.
So
Okay. Well, this is what happens with these things. That's why local control is important.
it is, right.
Okay. Jerry?
We set that up as a commercial area, so I really don't have any issue with that. And I think just a quick review of the language is all we really need in order to make this move forward.
Okay. All right.
The only part I talk about with the use thing is that, that definition that we have in our regulation, I understand when we think about mixed use to think about the building I just sold, whereas I had a business on the first floor and there was, room for a residential area above it. But, the definition really just talks about a building, and it says the building, as a mixed use, as long as the uses are allowed by either use or special permit. It says it right in the definition.
Yeah.
And in this case, the two uses he's looking for, if you read, it's which is built on a permanent chest. Oh, right. It's a building or a defined area in which a combination of uses that are permitted uses or allowed as special permits in the district in which the building is located. It doesn't really tell you that one has to be residential and one has to be commercial. So your definition kind of already fits. But it does say this includes one or more dwelling units above a commercial use on the first floor. Whereas in that sentence, it is combining residential with the first floor shall be the floor closest to the street. So it's kind of in there already a little bit because it really, that first sentence.
But it's something that should be tweaked.
Yeah, it should. I believe you're right. It could, because when you get into an area like this where, I mean, does that definition, even though there is no definition, the definition is the one line in the use category where it just says marina, including this, this, and this. And the only thing it includes for sales is boat sales. And I mean, a marina would be remiss if they couldn't sell the guy a propeller or couldn't sell him water skis or, get somebody some life safety vests or safety equipment for their first inspection when they bring their boat out on the lake. So, those are the things that I think Eric's looking to do there.
Yeah. Okay. You got what you needed?
I did. Thank you very much. Sorry it was so winded, but
No, that's important.
difficult for me to try to meander through those pages and get everything I needed out. Yeah, but this by no means, and any of the conversations we had is by no means what the final design would or even intends to look like. So we really don't know where we're going to go from here, but at least he has an idea of what we can do now when it
Yeah,
comes
I mean,
to
likewise,
so,
it was an informal discussion rather than.
so thanks for hearing us, and we appreciate it and look forward to seeing you down the road on this proposal.
Okay, good.
All right, have a great evening.
Okay, thanks, Rob.
All right, bye.
If you don't
Okay.
mind, George, can I just interrupt for 1 second? Because
Yeah,
I
sure.
see Peggy is here, and Peggy, your PEARS application was approved. It got done before you got here. So I see you're sitting there, and I wanted to make sure that you knew that they had already finished that business.
What was this, Pam?
Peggy, she I don't know what her relationship to Peer is, but
Oh, Pierre.
she had submitted the application,
Oh, okay,
delivered.
sure.
So
That's fine.
I just wanted to let her know in case she's hanging around thinking, when is my application gonna get heard? It was heard.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay. Second item under other businesses, POC discussion. Jerry, you had many months ago talked about the too much conservation in our plan of conservation and development. Did you work something up that you could contribute to us on that?
Not at this meeting, but I could at the next one.
All right. Well, I'm going to talk about timelines here shortly. Will, you were going to look at something with regards to these little tiny
I'm
lots.
still working on it.
Pardon me?
I'm still working on it.
All right. All right. The time is now to start tightening up the timing on this. One of the things in the seminar that we had on Saturday, it was just refreshed my memory on the requirements for the POCD. We have got to come up with a draft soon. So I'd say early April, we need to come up with a draft. Pam is working on a lot of the background stuff that we had, you know, the data that is basically kind of boilerplate for the particular time frame we're in as background. That isn't it isn't a decision-making thing, or it's not a projection of where we want to go. It's just facts about where we are. And we've got a couple other things, you know, with regards to this that we've changed, you know, the zoning and the zoning maps and so forth. So those are all simple. What you're coming up with, Jerry, with regards to suggestions about the level of the discussion on conservation, and Will, some suggestions about where we should be going as a community with regards to our important watershed area, not just at Highland Lake, but our other watershed areas. So we should get those finalized soon, because at least 65 days before the hearing, the POCD is got to be referred for review and comment from the COG and from the Board of Selectmen. And then at least 35 days before the hearing, that amended POCD, if it is, has to be posted on the web of the municipality, obviously, and a copy filed with the town clerk. And then we hold a public hearing, and that has to be advertised, 15 days prior to that. So we're to comply with our requirements to have this thing done every 10 years. We've already exceeded that. And we've got a 90-day extension from the governor's executive orders or emergency orders, however you want to term it. So I don't think anybody's going to step on our hands with regards to this, but we're not really talking about substantive changes here to our POCD. So I'd like to see us for the first meeting in April, bring those things together so we can come up with a draft and then move it forward with the process, if that's okay with everybody. Any
Okay.
objection? Okay. All right.
I'll go for that.
Okay, that's important so that we can, and this is a document that doesn't just sit for 10 years. If we decide that we want to make any modifications and bring it to the public again, we can do that if we see some real weaknesses in the area. But it's an important thing to get done so that we don't jeopardize any possibility of getting support from the state in our endeavors to keep our, progress going in our community.
George, would you like to say something about that?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead, Joe.
After sitting in on that whole POCD discussion on Saturday, which was very informative, once we get this initial one done to meet our goal and our requirements for the state, they mentioned a lot of other more detailed and in-depth viewpoint of the POCD, which I wasn't really taking into account.
Mhm.
And I'm sure you guys, as you read through that, so maybe next year, sometime we can start to explore some of the expanded areas. It wasn't just about conservation and development, it actually expanded into a number of different areas, which get to the whole character of the town and other items. So
Yeah, that's a good point.
might want to review that section and apply it to the POC once we're done.
Yeah, I mean, that's something actually, all of us that have been involved in this for so many years, it's a document that should be dependent upon and should be informative to the rest of the land use commissions for sure, and decisions. So it's an important document, but I think so many people don't even read it. And, just say, okay, it's there. But, we're all pretty active in this, not pretty active, we're all very active and committed to this, our community, and to this this whole operation of land use. So that's a point well taken. Thank you. Any other comments from the other commissioners? How about the participants in the seminar? How did everybody think of that one?
Excellent.
good format, I think,
Yes.
rather than
Good
driving
for one day.
going somewhere.
I can't believe God was with me today.
Pardon me?
Of course, George, the zipper awards are always great. So in the mid part of that,
Yeah, that might be the best part.
yeah. Especially the guy with the toilets who was trying to say it was art rather than junk in his front yard.
Right, you know?
Yeah. I thought it's valuable. You think about the legal profession that puts their time into this presentation. I mean, I can't imagine how much if we had to pay their hourly wage to get them to participate with this. And I think the efforts were genuine and very caring inputs. I thought it was very good.
I couldn't believe they're all wearing suits.
Are you talking?
Yeah.
They're all in suits and ties
Suit and
the whole
tie.
time.
Okay, so we'll have a dress code on the Zoom thing.
But thanks for letting me attend. I appreciate that.
No, it was a nice opportunity.
Oh,
And,
really?
Craig mentioned, did we get a good parking place? He didn't realize it was a Zoom thing because we'd gone with him 2 years ago, and all those that did Rid Ride with him. And he was able to get us a front door spot to park. But I thought it was excellent. Any other comments before we close for the evening?
George, I just have one question for you. A member of the community has come to me and asking if there was a potential third position for an alternate. Is
Yeah,
that
there
still
is.
potential? Are we still looking for somebody? Or?
Yes, we are. Yep. As a matter of fact, somebody actually lives in our neighborhood, and a name was submitted to the Board of Selectmen on Monday. I don't know if it's the same individual you were talking about.
I think so.
He's a zoning enforcement officer over in Harwinton. And that was brought up Monday night. I was going up to snow blow my daughter's yard just to the day, and he stopped me and started asking me a question, and I said, send your letter in. So yeah, there is definitely a third spot, which is good. Okay, if we don't have anything else, we could use a motion for adjournment.
I'll move.
Okay, it's moved
Second it.
and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor? Pam, again, thank you for putting the Zoom together for us. And
Pam,
looks like we got a little homework here on this particular zone too, in the definition of Marina. And then the conflict between the 75% and the 15/20.
Who's now?
Okay, very good. Good night.